Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Carl Hunt, and today our guests include Idaho State head coach Rob Fennessy, Eastern Washington quarterback Eric Berrier, and Stats Craig Haley. Let's take a look back at some highlights from this past weekend. Idaho State registered a 55-20 win over North Dakota, backed by 5 touchdown passes from Matt Struck. Eric Berrier added 5 touchdowns of his own in Eastern Washington's 54-21 win over Northern Colorado. Sacramento State upset number 6 Montana State at home 34-21 to register its first win in Bozeman since 1991. Portland State blanked Idaho 24-0, its first shutout over a Big Sky team since 2005. UC Davis topped Cal Poly 48-24 in the 11 Sports Game of the Week. Southern Utah kept it close for the majority of the game, but Weber State pulled away late to earn the 29-14 victory. The Big Sky is back to 5 teams in the FCS Top 25 polls. In the Stats, FCS, and AFCA coaches polls, Weber State, Montana, and UC Davis are all ranked, with the Wildcats leading the way at number 4. Sacramento State joins the group at number 15 and 17, its first top 25 ranking since 2011. In addition, Eastern Washington, Idaho State, and Portland State are receiving votes. Big Sky Root Sports Offensive Player of the Week honors went to Sacramento State quarterback Kevin Thompson. UC Davis linebacker Nick Eaton was named the Defensive Player of the Week honoree, while Idaho State's Kevin Ryan picked up Special Teams honors. Remember, Root Sports is the official television partner of the Big Sky Conference. When we return, Idaho State head coach Rob Fennessy will join us on the show. Stay tuned to This Week in Big Sky Football.
Big Sky men's and women's basketball championships are headed to Boise. Buy your tickets now for a fun-filled week with basketball for all to enjoy. Purchase your tickets today by visiting BigSkyInBoise.com. That's BigSkyInBoise.com.
At Jimmy John's, we want your sandwich to arrive freaky fast, so it's freaky fresh. So we only deliver within 5 minutes of our stores and not farther. Click to order at jimmyjohns.com. 5 minutes is not a guaranteed delivery time. Actual delivery times will vary.
We would like to welcome Idaho State head coach Rob Fennessy to our show today. Coach, thanks for making time to talk with us for a little bit today.
Well, it's always good to talk to the Big Sky Conference. It's good for everybody.
Well, thank you. You're in your 3rd year at the helm of the Idaho State football program and 5th overall, but you're also no stranger to the league, having coached at Montana in the early 2000s. How has your background from the FCS and the FBS helped shape your coaching style today?
Well, just you draw from experience of being with, numerous very successful coaches, and, at everywhere you go, you pick something up along the way. And then obviously being in the Big Sky, 2 years at Northridge, 7 years at Montana, and now my 5th year here, you kind of get to know the places where you go and the teams that you face. Now that, everybody changes every year, and it's certainly changed from, the late 90s through the 2000s to where we are now. But at least you have some familiarity with the places that you go.
Now, the fan experience and engagement at Idaho State football games has been very impressive the past few years. How good is it to get the community involved in supporting Idaho State athletics across the board?
I think it's great. We had some big crowds last year for several games, and we had a great crowd Saturday when we played North Dakota. But I think a big part of it is the commitment that President Satterley and our athletic director, Pauline Theros, put into our tailgating and our the stuff that goes out on our practice field before the game. There's a huge party going on out there, and then we do our Bengal walk when we come over to the stadium and dress, and it's lined with the band, and like I said, the president's out there, and like I said, it's not just. It's been good on the field, but President Satterley and Pauline Theros have both really helped with their commitment to the tailgating out there.
Can you talk a little bit about the depth of the quarterback talent here in the Big Sky?
God, every week you're going against a great one. It's ridiculous. I mean, you think you'd have a chance to have the Big Sky Player of the Week once in a while, but you got Sneed and you got Thompson and shoot, our guy, I think is playing pretty well, but those other guys are doing just as well, if not better. And but just look up and down. You got Cookus. I saw him at the Big Sky meetings this summer. I said, "Boy, aren't you gone yet?" And it seems like he's been around forever. Kevin Thompson. Shoot, we were at UNLV when he was there. We recruited him there, and Dalton Sneed as well. And I say you just keep going on and on. There's a bunch of good ones in this conference, and every week you're playing a powerful offense.
Last year, you had Tanner Geller, who had a stellar senior campaign for you guys, but it looks like you haven't missed a beat with Matt Struck at your quarterback. How does a player with an arm and his type of leadership help shape your entire team?
Yeah, he, we don't ask him to go out and win the game for us. We ask him to go out and manage the game. But that's a tribute, the whole thing, having a little bit more success this year, that gives Mike Farrader a lot of credibility that it wasn't a one-man system last year. Mike has a really good offensive system, and we've shown that the system works. And, what's the one sign of a great offense is it's the same offense now that it was 5 years ago. And here we are 2 years into it, and, there's some good things going on. So hopefully we can continue that.
Your Bengals have scored 50 or more points in 2 of your 3 conference games and 30 or more points in all of your wins this season. Can you talk about the balance of your offense a little bit?
Yeah, well, we're kind of take what they give you deal. If you're going to load up the box, we're going to try to spin it a little bit. If you're lighting the box, we're gonna hit the ground game. But I said it's Mike Farrader giving the controls and giving the quarterback the right controls on what to do on any given play. So you always want to have some sort of balance. Anytime you get into a situation where you're overloaded one way or the other, that's usually not a good thing. So we try to keep it, we feel we got a couple good running backs and a pretty good offensive line too, and try to keep things balanced there.
Now, with the Bengals, you can't forget about your defense, a defense that's holding opponents to 26.7 points per game, which in a high-scoring league like the Big Sky is no easy feat. What's been the key for your defense in making stops this season?
Part of it is we're a little bit older. I always like to say you'd rather put players in the slow cooker than microwave them. So we have a veteran secondary. We have 4 seniors that start back there. We have one of the what I would like to think one of the better linebackers in the league with Cody Graves, and then a veteran group up front with the defensive line. And this is really the second full year of Roger Cooper's system being put into place, and he's doing a great job.
This weekend, you play at Idaho in the Battle of the Domes. How good is it for both universities to have this rivalry renewed?
I think it's great. I said it in my press conference yesterday. This is a game that should be played every year, and it should be the last game of the year, just like a couple other rivalries in this conference. And I think you do that, the bigger and bigger this thing gets. But Idaho and Idaho State should be a game every year, and it should be a critical game for the conference race every year. And our kids are excited. I'm sure Coach Petrino's is going to have their guys fired up and ready to go. They play well at home. They beat Eastern. They played Weber State really, really, really tight. And it's going to be a battle out there. It's going to be a good old big. Hey, it's like the original 6 in hockey. Like I've said, 2 original Big Sky teams. It's like the Canadians and the Rangers going at it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on our show today, Coach. Good luck in your game at Idaho this Saturday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We'll be back shortly with our next segment of This Week in Big Sky Football.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel of the Big Sky Conference. Need a hotel for work or just a night away? With over 50 hotels open and more on the way, we want to be your home away from home. Let My Place be your place. Enroll in our new loyalty program and stay rewarded.
Next up on This Week in Big Sky Football is Eastern Washington quarterback Eric Berrier. Thanks for joining us on the show today, Eric.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Your arm looks like it hasn't skipped a beat from last season. How important is the quarterback-wide receiver relationship to you?
It's very important because in order to go out there and execute and get the timing down with the receivers, you got to have a great offseason with them. You got to connect with them, not on the football level, but also on the friendship level, because I think that helps grow the relationship. And that's pretty much it.
Although you're a redshirt junior, you definitely be considered one of the veterans on your team. How have you evolved as a leader on and off the field?
I evolved just by just looking at what past players did, just like games, and just being there in my redshirt year with Coop, KB, and Shaq and all them, and just saying like how they led the team, just how like when they close, people respect them. So I just try to follow in that role, just because I know I play quarterback, so quarterback gotta have a huge voice in the team. So I'm not a very huge vocal guy, but I've been working on it to get better at it. It's good.
The Eagles have a bye this week. How is this week any different than any other game week?
It's different because like we kind of banged up right now, so I think this bye would be huge for us. Just get guys rested and hope to get a couple guys back.
The Big Sky seems to have an endless supply of talented quarterbacks in the league. Do you think that's due in part to the style of play that each of the teams have?
Yeah, it's a bunch of great quarterbacks in this league. I think you got Sac State with Coach Taylor now. You got Montana. You got Idaho State. You got other quarterbacks like that that's going out there slinging the ball around with these good systems to put the quarterback in the best position.
Now, there have been a lot of memorable moments for you at Eastern Washington. What's one moment or game that really sticks out to you?
I'd say the semifinal game against Maine, just because that was just going up there, playing like my first like real big playoff game like that to possibly go to the national championship. But I think that moment will always stick out with me just because how we went out there and played and dominate and just went to the championship since like the past 9 or 10 years.
Eastern Washington is known for producing a steady string of quarterbacks. Did that play a big part in you choosing to go play for the Eagles?
Yeah, it was huge, especially knowing about and seeing highlights of what Brandon Adams did. And that like really caught my attention, and especially with Coach Baldwin them, was just how they were talking to me, just and how they can see I'm be the future guy and stuff like that. That was huge, just hearing that, and they stood loyal throughout the whole process.
Talk about growing up in Inglewood, California, and playing football. How did you get started?
So I started playing football. My mom just one day told me, "Oh, I signed you up for football," and so I tried out like when I was like 6 or 7, and just from there, I just loved it ever since then. I played in the Auto Draft League. I played for the Inglewood Jets, and I also played for the Snoop League too. So I played for like the Southern California Falcons, West Side Jaguars, and California Cowboys. So I done played with a bunch of talent before, just growing up my whole life.
Now, your stat sheet is a mile long. You registered 9,304 yards and recorded 130 touchdowns, rushing and passing. When you look back on your high school experience, what is something that sticks out to you?
The moment that stuck out to me my senior year, I was able to throw 2 Hail Marys to win the game. The first Hail Mary was a 50-yard Hail Mary that was on like Fox Sports TV. Then the second Hail Mary was in the championship game, and we played against Sacramento with like 4 seconds left. I threw one up, and my teammate caught it, and we won the championship.
All right, that's Eastern Washington quarterback Eric Barrier. Thanks for joining us on the show, and rest up this week.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having me.
Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for Big Sky action. The leading free internet television service in America will stream live sporting events including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Simply go to Pluto TV to find games from several different sports. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for all Big Sky action.
It's time for the one and only Craig Haley from Stats to join us on our show. How are you doing this week, Craig?
I'm doing well, Carl. Thanks for having me on.
So this past week definitely provided some excitement in Big Sky football. Let's talk about the Montana State-Sacramento State game. The Hornets really came ready to play. What did you think about their performance?
You're right. I mean, if you're Montana State, you're home. You need to play better. But Sac State was, more physical at the line of scrimmage, and that's where the, Bobcats often win it there against FCS opponents. Kevin Thompson, he had that run pass option, plays down so well, and Sac State just kept producing in the big spots. I mean, they played with a smoothness, especially converting third downs and whether they were facing long or short fields. I mean, I think after the Bobcats fell behind, they were out of sync, and Sac State sort of controlled that game.
Now, next up for the Hornets is Montana. They're the third top 25 opponent in as many weeks, and the Hornets will host the Grizzlies at home. What's your prediction of that game?
Yeah, they're kind of the story right now in the FCS. I mean, I picked Sac State each of the last 2 weeks. This week, I think I'm going to shift to Montana. I think I really like the fact that the Grizz had the bye last weekend, which means they have 2 weeks of preparation. They may be more equipped to handle Sac State's, run pass option plays than Montana State was. I mean, you're going to have a nice crowd and a raucous atmosphere. Montana's obviously used to that. I think it's the game of the week in the FCS. I'm just going to give a slight edge to the Grizz on the road.
Weber State continues to shine with its top 25 status in the polls, but Northern Arizona has Case Cookus, who's the definite X factor. What do the Wildcats need to do to win, and vice versa for the Lumberjacks to steal a road win?
I'm a little surprised Weber State's offense has yet to pick it up a little more. I mean, that helps, Case in Northern Arizona because they may not need to produce, say, 42 points for an upset. Maybe something like 20, 28 can get it done. I mean, this is a veteran NAU team, so they need to keep it close into the second half and really put the Wildcats on their heels. I say that, and I, and the Wildcats, in reverse, they kind of want to go up by double digits in the first half, and if they do that, then they can win it with defense and field position, kind of make Case one-dimensional on offense. I think it's a dangerous game for Weber State. They're the favorite here, but, Case Cook is as good as they come for an FCS quarterback.
Montana, Sacramento State, and Weber State are all undefeated in league play, and there's 5 more teams that have 1 loss. Talk about what you've seen from the league as a whole this year that makes it so hard to have just an easy game.
Well, you've probably noticed, but, all the Big Sky teams are winning at home. I mean, I think it's 7 teams that have yet to lose at home, and all of them have at least split their home games when you include the non-conference. That's going to change over the next month, but you have to be focused and avoid losing a game that you're expected to win, and usually you're expected to win at home. So there are no easy games, that's for sure.
Sacramento State finally cracked the top 25 for the first time since 2011. Do you think not being ranked these past few weeks kind of fueled the fire in them as they went into their game this past week?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that fire is burning. I mean, a team, finds extra motivation out of anything. And you go 2-8 last year, winless in the league. Granted, you have a lot to prove, but I think from Sac State's perspective, you do kind of latch on to that us against the world mindset, and it seems to be working for the Hornets.
Now, the Big Sky is back to 5 teams in the top 25. That has to be the number the league wants to keep, right?
Yeah, I think kind of feeds into what I said earlier about, the need to avoid surprising losses and maybe inconsistent performances. You can't win a conference title with being inconsistent. We all like parity in a conference. It makes it fun. But a conference also needs to have a little separation in the standings if it's going to have 3, 4, 5 playoff qualifiers, and that's what the Big Sky wants. So you do need some of the teams to kind of take control here in the next month.
5 teams dropped out of the top 25 poll this week. What's your take on this week's poll results?
Well, what happened this past weekend, Carl, it's kind of happened quite a bit throughout the decade. It just really hadn't happened this season until this past weekend. We're into conference play. Teams know each other so well. So the ranked teams are going to get picked off like this past weekend. I mean, the top 25 is always fluid, especially from, say, number 15 on down where they're just so evenly matched. So, I'm not that surprised because I've seen it enough throughout the decade. It just really rocks the FCS when it happens.
Let's talk about the Walter Payton, Buck Buchanan, and Jerry Rice Awards a little bit. As we approach the end of October, do you have any favorites for those awards yet?
Great question. I mean, the Big Sky, has some really strong candidates because, have all those quarterbacks that are doing well, maybe with Dalton Snead and Kevin Thompson leading the way right now. I look at Trey Lance of North Dakota State. He has the stats to back it up, but I think the Bison have so much talent around him. Maybe it's also a year for the Payton where a smaller conference can land the winner because there are some good ones out there. I think Dante Olson, he's back in the Buchanan picture. That's for sure. The Rice picture, I think that changed a little bit last year because with the new red shirt rule, some of the big freshmen didn't even have bigger roles until later in the season, and that could happen over the next month. I mean, I think to me that's where a Trey Lance is more worthy. With the Rice more so than the Payton because that's where you have to really carry a team like some of the Big Sky quarterbacks are doing.
All right, one more question. What makes you so passionate about FCS football?
I guess I would say it's sort of the personal feel to the FCS level. I mean, you have smaller crowds than the FBS. Everybody's sitting on top of the action. You kind of feel like an underdog to the FBS level and all the attention that's paid there. I think everybody kind of has that feeling across the FBS. I mean, we know there's so much talent on this level. Say a Carson Wentz going on to be the number 2 draft pick that he was. I mean, it's almost like I think we all sharing this little secret about the high level of talent on the FCS level, and we almost feel like much of the nation is overlooking it. So it's kind of a nice personal feel to the whole FCS.
All right, that's Craig Haley of Stats. Thank you, Craig, for joining us, and as always, have a great day.
Carl, I really appreciate it. Best of luck. Have a great weekend.
Big Sky fans, make sure you download the Pluto TV app on your smartphone, tablet, or TV, and check out our new channel lineup in the 500s. North Dakota at Cal Poly, Montana at Sacramento State, Northern Arizona at Weber State, and UC Davis at Southern Utah can all be watched on Pluto TV this week. The Root Sports Game of the Week features Idaho State at Idaho. Kickoff is slated for 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time at the Kibbe Dome. The 11 Sports Game of the Week that can also be watched on Pluto TV will feature Portland State at Northern Colorado. Game time